Hi, I'm Fraser Douglas, and I've been an avid tent camper now for 55 years. In this video, I want to tell you about our new Igloo BMX 52 cooler. I want to tell you how it compares with our old Coleman Extreme 52 cooler, and I also want to point out a few features of the new Igloo that I especially like. I hope you enjoy this video. First, let me tell you a little bit about our Coleman Extreme cooler. We paid about $50 for this cooler 6 years ago and have used it on about 25 camping trips. Most of these trips were 3 days long, but a few of them were 4 or 5 days long. Typically, we'd load the cooler Thursday afternoon with all of the food for our trip, plus 20 pounds of ice. Then we'd usually get up very early Friday morning and drive to our camping destination. After setting up camp, we'd usually cook about 5 meals over the next 2 days, and then return home late Sunday afternoon. During the trip, the cooler never left the car. When we needed food, we just opened it in the car, got the food out, and then closed it. In hot weather, we tried to park in the shade and sometimes covered it with a blanket. After the past 6 years of use, I can confidently say this is a great cooler. We've had no broken parts, but I'm especially pleased by the fact that we never had to add ice during a 3-day trip, and we still had plenty of ice to throw away Sunday afternoon when we got back home. My only complaints, and they're minor ones, are that the narrow bottom made it difficult to set many large items flat on the bottom of the cooler, and the tall profile made it a little difficult to open the lid inside the car. Unfortunately, Coleman has apparently discontinued this cooler model, but you can occasionally find one of these coolers for sale on the internet for about $120. And so I decided to try to find an equally good medium-priced cooler that was available on the market today. For more information about coolers that are suitable for family tent camping, please visit my website, moderntentcamping.com. A link is provided in the description below. And while you're there, please check out my Amazon store page where you can find links to lots of other great family camping gear. After watching several YouTube videos and reading a few Facebook posts, I decided to buy an Igloo BMX 52. I bought a white one in hopes that it would stay a little cooler than the darker colored ones. The Igloo BMX 52 is a 52-quart cooler that claims to retain ice for 5 days. I bought mine about a month ago for $120, but I see that the price has gone up another $15 since then. According to the Amazon product description, it measures 26 inches across the front, 16.5 inches from front to back, and 16.5 inches high. From the photo, you can see that it's about 1.5 inches less across the front than the Coleman cooler, about 2 inches wider front to back at the bottom, and about 1.5 inches shorter. It was too wide front to back to fit in my car with my old chuck box, but I needed to change that chuck box anyway, and so I made a smaller one with milk crates. Now it fits perfectly with room to spare. So let's examine some of the Igloo cooler's features. The first feature to discuss is the rubber T-latches that make a very tight seal that presumably helps to retain ice longer. And these T-latches make it difficult for animals to open the cooler. But we never had a problem with ice melting prematurely before we had the T-latches, and because we keep the cooler in the car, we never had a problem with animal access. Furthermore, the latches sometimes get in the way when you try to close the lid with one hand.
it would be nice if they were detachable. A second noticeable feature is the Igloo lid is much thicker than the Coleman lid, presumably because it contains better insulation. But because this lid is so thick, you can't open it if the cooler is packed right next to the side of the car. You have to allow about 3 inches of clearance space for the lid to open. Fortunately, this extra space was perfect for packing our 2-burner Coleman stove. The hinges on the back of the Igloo lid appear to be much more durable than those on the Coleman lid, but we never had a problem with the Coleman hinges, and if we had, they were very easy to replace. The lid of the Igloo cooler has a fish ruler, just like the Coleman cooler, but doesn't have the cup holders. But we never used either of these two features before, and don't expect to need them in the future. The Igloo handles appear to be much stronger and certainly are more comfortable than the Coleman handles, but the Coleman handles are very easy to replace if they should break. Unfortunately, the Igloo handles do not have a nice feature that we really liked on the Coleman. On the Coleman cooler, if we packed it in a tight space, we could just grab the top of the handle and pull straight up. But on the Igloo cooler, you must pull the handles out and away from the cooler and then swing up. Both coolers have a drain plug, but the Igloo plug is larger and seems much more durable. But we never had a problem with the Coleman plug, and had it been damaged, it would be very easy to replace. The biggest cooler problem for us on our camping trips is how to keep our perishable foods from spoiling in melted ice water. Campers have devised a variety of strategies for protecting their perishable foods, but the one that we prefer is to use a dry food basket. Unfortunately, neither cooler comes with a basket, but they each have a ledge that will support a basket, and you can find aftermarket baskets on the web that will fit each cooler for $30 to $40. As you can see, the Igloo's basket is larger than the Coleman's and thus will hold more perishable food. The Igloo cooler also has a large flat bottom with square corners and vertical sidewalls. This design gives you plenty of room to pack several large bottles right next to the sidewall. The Coleman cooler looks like it has more space, but the sloped sidewalls and the rounded corners make it difficult to fit larger containers of food flat on the bottom. So now let's see how long the Igloo cooler retains ice. Ideally, an ice retention test should be conducted in the middle of summer on a camping trip. But since I'm making this video in January, I'll have to conduct this test in a south-facing kitchen bay window. The reason I selected this location is because the temperatures here are about the same as the temperatures we typically camp in during the hot summer months. On a sunny winter day with the blinds raised, the temperature will rise to 80 degrees by 11 in the morning, remain above 80 degrees for around 6 hours, and sometimes rise to a peak of over 100 degrees. After sunset, the temperatures will gradually drop, but they will not drop below 70 degrees. For this test, I packed the cooler at 4:15 Wednesday afternoon with all of the food that we would typically pack for a 4 to 5 day camping trip, plus 20 pounds of ice. In particular, I packed eggs, cheese, butter, 5 packs of meat, 7 containers of condiments, 15 canned drinks, and 2 1/2-gallon jugs of milk. On each day of the test, I opened the cooler 4 times to remove some food. Here are the results. Thursday was a very sunny day, and the high temperature on the lid reached 96.8 degrees. This photo was taken at 6 p.m. As you can see, the ice has melted a little bit, but not much. As the ice melts and as we remove food from the basket, we're able to move more and more small condiment containers into the basket. This is the amount of ice remaining after the third day. I think we'll have ice until tomorrow morning, but not much longer. My conclusion from this test is that this Igloo BMX 52 will not retain ice for the 5 days in the hot conditions similar to those that we typically camp in here in North Alabama, but it does retain ice for about the same length of time as our older Coleman Extreme 52 cooler.
Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you've learned something about how to compare ice coolers. Some of the features that I especially like about this new Igloo cooler are the fact that it retains ice for over 3 days in the hot conditions that we typically camp in, the fact that it has a large flat bottom that allows us to place many items flat on the bottom, the large dry storage basket which allows us to keep more items up out of the melting ice water, and the low profile that allows us to open and close the cooler with ease in the car. The one feature that I was a little disappointed about is the rapidly increasing price, so that the price of this cooler may soon get out of reach for many camping families. Thanks for watching.